Welcome, everyone, to AutoAutoPkg. My name is Anklewicz, and I am the manager of IT Endpoint Engineering at Thumbtack. I've been at Thumbtack since September of 2022, almost 3 years now, where my team, Rebecca and I, manage all the Macs, Windows, Chrome OS, and Linux devices at the company. I live and work in Whitestone, Ontario, on an absolutely beautiful lake, which means my lunch breaks can be a good swim or canoe or kayak. I live with a cat and a fellow human, and I'm nerdy about a lot of things, and those are the things I like to do. So if you want to talk to me, though I am a bit germy possibly, so you might not actually want to, but those are good subjects to chat about. In addition to that, I brought candy. So if you ask a question, come on up and grab some candy. There is a slight caveat that, does anyone here work for American Airlines? Okay, if you're watching on YouTube and you work for American Airlines, I really dislike you. My flight was canceled after an hour and a half on the tarmac, and then they forgot to put my luggage on the new plane, and that all was in the luggage, and it was sitting out in the heat, and it might be a bit melty, but it's still good. Also, I've got butter tarts, and those got a bit crumbly, but it's just, for the Americans who don't know, butter tarts are basically some pie dough with brown sugar and butter, and it's absolutely delicious. And I've got, and everything else is Canadian as well, so you might not be able to get it where you're from. So ask questions. Just raise your hand. We're going to throw you the catch box. Well, we'll throw you the catch box and ask your question into the mic so that the people at home can hear you, and anyone who might be hard of hearing in the room can hear you as well. So I'm not an expert at this. I did this. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I didn't see a lot of resources, so I wanted to do this talk. But I need to acknowledge the people who have come before me. A lot of what I stole was from John Crane. He has something called AutoMonkey, and that's a lot of what I did. I did have to do a lot of changes, and we're going to go through that a little bit. In addition to that, I was already using in production AutoPromote, which was made by Gusto, which what that does is it auto-promotes your packages through Monkey. So if you're starting at development, it can then go to testing, and then it can go to production. Ours is a bit more complicated. Rebecca and I did a talk about that 2 years ago called Beta Buddies. So if you want to know about our beta strategy, you can watch that. At Mac DevOps, Rod did an interesting talk. I wanted to watch it because I wanted to see how much it overlapped this talk, and it didn't at all. It's just a completely different method to do it. So I might suggest you watch that video at some point if this interests you, because that was really good. Scott did a session earlier this week, I guess yesterday it was. It was really good. It's a new runner for AutoPkg, and I'm going to go through what that is. And I might move to that quite possibly. So I think that we might have done this in the wrong order. Maybe this might have been the first one and then go to his. So if you didn't see that yesterday, when it gets up on YouTube, I would suggest watching it. Also, I bugged Kevin Cox quite a bit on Slack, and he was very kind to answer a lot of questions, so thank you to him. And finally, the biggest thanks go to Betsy. She did a talk at JNUC, but it was about doing this to feed into Jamf, and it wasn't really translating into my head. I reached out to her. She got onto Zoom with me. She explained a lot of the things. She had already moved it over to Monkey before she left that company she was working at. I asked her, can we do this together? But she wasn't able to make the conference this year. But I have to give her so much thanks for everything she did. So I'm going to answer why we did this project. And what the project is running AutoPkg in GitOps, in GitHub Actions, so that we can import new packages into our Monkey repo. And before that in production, what we were doing is we were running an AWS EC2 instance, which if you're not familiar, you're basically just, you've got a Mac sitting in Amazon server farm, and it's on there 24/7, and you have to manage the operating system, you have to manage everything. And I was doing that just to run AutoPkg once a day. And that's wasteful for the power consumption it's using. It means that I have to manage that server. I wasn't able to manage it with code, and in theory, it would cost quite a bit, but that wasn't actually a real thing that was important to us. And then in addition to that, why am I doing this presentation is because when I was trying to figure this out, I found there weren't a lot of good resources that I was getting the information I wanted from. There were a few talks at Mac DevOps that were lightning talks or quick talks, whatever they call it. And it was like, this is what we're doing. It's really cool. Thank you. And that would be great if I knew a bit more of the baseline of it, but I wanted to go through that to give you all a bit more of that core functionality. So the tools that we're using are Monkey, and we run that with our repo sitting in an S3 bucket on Amazon. We use AutoPkg. Before this, we were using it on that EC2 instance. We use AutoMonkey, which is the project John Crane made, which borrows heavily from Meta's project AutoPkg Tools Python script, which I forgot to put on the thank you page because I didn't even know that that existed until Scott's talk yesterday. We also were using Gusto's AutoPromote, and we're still using it now, but just now in GitHub. And then obviously we're using GitHub and GitHub Actions. We're also using Visual Code Studio as a text editor. You could use whatever text editor you like. We're using Monkey Admin to get a graphical interface for Monkey, and I just like it. So I use that on my computer, make some changes, then push it to GitHub, and we're going to go through that. And then I use CyberDuck to upload packages because some things aren't in AutoPkg. So we've got a few items that are behind a paywall from our provider, and we have to manually download it, upload it, put it into Monkey, upload it through CyberDuck, and then we're good to go. But not all of that is going to be in the scope of this presentation. So I expect you in here to actually know what these things are already. I've kind of gone through them already, so then maybe I was wrong about them being out of scope. But that would be a really helpful thing for you. But I want to talk about what a GitHub action is. I'm gonna zoom in, Leon. Don't worry. I'm just talking about what a GitHub action is first. And basically what that is instead of having a computer sitting in Amazon's server farm that's running 24 hours, GitHub will create a virtual machine, start it up, build everything you need to do and what you tell it to do all the tasks, kill it, and it's gone. And so if it only takes 8 minutes to run, then it's only living for 8 minutes. But how do you tell it what to do? And that is using YAML files. And if you're not familiar with YAML, it is a configuration file or a property list file similar to a plist or a JSON file. The difference is it's very human readable, which makes it really easy to look at the file and go, oh yeah, that's what it's doing. And let's actually go through what this one is doing. So first off, I gave it a name. I called it Monkey Catalog S3 Sync. And you can see that that is all I have to put in, name, colon, and then whatever name I want. And this is just an identifier for you to know what this is and how you can trigger it when you trigger it. But we have to tell it when to run. And it runs on something. So on a push, in this case specifically to the branch main, and to the path of packages info. We've got a second option there, which is workflow dispatch. And I don't know why it's called that, but that just means manual. So if you want to be able to run it manually, you need to have that in there. And I recommend probably all the time to have that, just so that if something goes wrong, you can troubleshoot it. You could also run it on a schedule just by using cron and using the same notation you would use for a cron job. So we know what it's called, when it goes, what is the job that it's actually doing. So we need to give it a name. We're going to tell it upload to S3 as our name. We're going to tell it what type of computer it's going to spin up. In this case, it's running a version of macOS and the latest version. We put in the timeout there in case it gets stuck on something and it keeps running for 20 days because you didn't notice something was going wrong. And then you can also pass environment variables. So in this case, we're specifying what the monkey version is, and you're going to see in a minute how you call that. So that's the job. This is the overarching, this is what the job is. Let's look at each individual step. And we start that with steps. So in this case, we're giving a name to all the steps, and we are using stuff other people have already built for us. So GitHub Actions has already created an action called checkout, and what that does is it takes your repo and puts it into this virtual machine. We're specifying to go to a fetch depth of 1, and the first time I saw this, my assumption was, oh, that's like folder depth. But instead, it's actually the depth of your commit history. So if you just want what's currently in there, a fetch depth of 1 is all you need to do. So now we've got the files into our runner, and then we're going to install Monkey. In this case, we're using something called macOS package install that was, once again, made by John Crane. And we specify the URL, and you can see there we've got the variables specified in there. And it's just saying, hey, download this and install it on this Mac. Pretty simple and straightforward. Then we're going to run make catalogs. And in this case, what we're doing is we're just calling a shell. Well, this is a Python script, and it might soon be a Swift script or Swift command line utility. So we're saying in the user local monkey make catalogs folder, the root directory of our of the runner of our GitHub repo, and with the flag of S. And I hadn't actually seen the flag of S. So I was like, well, what does that do? And thankfully, there is a help file for make catalogs. And we can see that it's to skip the package check because the packages are not actually sitting here yet. It's just the package info files. So we want to be able to run make catalog without actually having those packages there. And then we want to configure our AWS credentials, and we're going to use some secrets. Basically saying our key, our secret key, and our region. And then we are going to run another shell script, and this time it's the AWS shell script. And we're saying to it, do an S3 sync. And we're saying from here to there, and we're using our bucket secret name this time. So that's a bit about the basics of how you configure a GitHub Actions workflow. So why don't we see some of this in action? And let's go and demo. So I really wanted to go through all of this here, except my first run through of this was 5 hours. There were a lot of mistakes that I had to fix because I was going from, I didn't remember everything I'd done when I set up the production instance. But then I did it again, and it took me about an hour and a half. And I'm like, I want people to be able to ask questions, hence the candy. So I didn't want to go that long, obviously, and I couldn't. So I've already set up an S3 bucket, and I've called it here AutoAutoPkg PSU 2025. I've already tested it by uploading a file, and I've already set up the permissions for it, basically saying excuse me, basically saying to go and have access so that this access key is able to upload and read the S3 bucket. So that's already set up. And what I didn't do is get my list of all the steps that I'm going to be doing. So let's go there. And basically what I found that you needed to do was to be able to list the bucket, to get the objects, to get object tagging, to put objects, and to delete objects. And that'll be in my notes file, which I'm going to upload to this GitHub repo at the end so that you can access it. But we have to create the GitHub repo first, so I don't have a link to that yet. And then we are going to create a GitHub repo. So I've got GitHub open here, and I'm going to create a new repo. And one important thing that I need to know is what I'm going to call it. And there it is. I'm just telling who the owner is. That is me. What the name of it is. I'm going to tell it that it's public because I want you all to be able to access it if you want. And that's all I really care about at this moment. So I'm going to create the repository. And it's going to take me right there. And there's not much in there. But we also, but I'm going to take this and I'm going to download it to my computer. So I've got this GitHub folder here. There's nothing in it at the moment. I'm just going to click the Setup in Desktop button. And it opened on the wrong screen, of course. So let's bring it over here. It's saying, hey, what is it? Where do you want to save it? I've already set up the default I wanted, and I'm just going to say clone this. And suddenly I have this empty folder, well, with a .git file. And one thing I want to let you know is that .git file, if you're unaware, is a hidden file. Any file that has a dot in front of it is hidden. macOS by default does not show it to you. You could toggle that function on and off by using Command-Shift-, and it will show up and run away. And if you ever are looking for the library folder, that is a good way to find it, or just Command-Shift-G and type in the actual path. So I've got my repo set up. I've got my very empty repo already sitting here. I need some kind of a folder structure. So I'm going to run this script, which is very small probably. But what we're doing is I'm telling it where to go. And I used the wrong name there, so I'm going to have to edit that. Let's quickly do that. Where is that file? Boop. And what did I call it? I called it that. So let's put that in here. And it's going to, in that base path, create the AutoPkg source folder, the AutoPkg source override folder, auto promote folder, icons, manifests, packages info. I'm going to actually get rid of icons. We don't need that right now. And it's going to transfer the README file that I've already started and created here, and it's going to put it in there. So we have something we can commit to GitHub. So let's run that. And we're just going to drag and drop that setup script onto my Commodore 64. And there's all that function, all that stuff. So if I go into GitHub, I can go and make my initial commit, uploading README, hi everyone, and publish it. And now if I refresh, I actually have a file there. And you're going to notice that the only thing there is the actual README file. Any empty directories are not actually going to go up to GitHub. So we're going to deal with that in a minute. But where did VS Code end up? There it is. I need my notes. So another thing we want to do is we want to create what's called a personal access token. And that is a token that lets you read and write into your GitHub repo. To do that is pretty straightforward. They've got two functionalities for it. I'm going to show you the classic method, and there is a newer version, but I'm just going to click on my name and find the settings button. There it is, and open that in a new tab. Go down to developer and personal access tokens, and I'm going to say classic. I've already created it, so I'm just going to let that be, but I'm going to show you what it looks like. I tell it to generate a new one. It wants to authenticate, so I'm just not even going to bother. But then you would choose what type of preferences. I have chosen all of the functions of repo here. There are a lot more functions, but that was what I needed to be able to read and write to the repo. So then we need to create some secrets. And so I'm currently in my account settings. And that's why I'm not creating this live, because if I was creating it live, you would all see my that personal access token for it. As you can see here, I have it expiring tomorrow, but actually as soon as this is done, I'm just going to delete this one. And so I would suggest you're cautious when creating a personal access token, and that's why they have the fine-grained version. But so now I need to create some secrets, and that lives in my repository that I created. So I'm back there, and I'm going to go to Settings. And it's under Secrets and Variables. That makes sense. Then it's under Actions. That doesn't make sense. But that's GitHub. And we need to actually put all this fun stuff in here. So I'm going to create a new repository secret, and I'm going to start with my bucket secret region. And I don't actually care if you see that one. We are going to US East 2, and I can add the secret. And then I can hide from you. And I'm going to add a few more. I'm going to add our bucket name. And that one you've already seen, so I don't know why I'm hiding this one, but I'm going to do our AWS access key and secret key. And you get to watch a blank screen as I do this, and I apologize, but I wanted to do this live, and the internet's actually working, so, but now that I've said that, it won't. And then finally, I want to add that read-write token that I've created already for GitHub. And, ooh, this one might have been overridden when I noticed that things were wrong. So I might have to create a new one on the fly, but we're going to try. We're going to see if this is the right one. And I've got all the secrets. So what that looks like now, ooh, full screen, is I have all 5 of these ready to go to be used. And they can be called by any runner I've got up and running. So next I need to get AutoMonkey into here. And actually, before I do that, I am going to put something into Monkey so that we have that folder structure ready to go. And I didn't like that it went and made things big, so I'm going to do that. Let's go back to the code, and I am going to go open up Monkey admin. Ooh, and it actually went on the right screen. So you can see I've got nothing in this Monkey repo, and we can see that actually here. Packages info, absolutely nothing is there. So I can go, and I downloaded ahead of time just in case. Zoom. I'm going to save it. I'm going to give it a better name than blank. I'm going to create a manifest. Boop. And I'm going to call this Bob. And in Bob, I'm going to set the catalog of testing, and I'm going to go and make Zoom a managed install. Savey. And back to GitHub, and it's going to see that, hey, we got some changes here. So I'm going to say adding Zoom to Monkey repo. And refresh. And I have files in here. That worked. Excuse me. So now I'm going to set up AutoMonkey. And I've also downloaded that in advance. So I'm just going to open up this zip. And I'm going to grab a few things that I actually want. I'm going to grab these things from the source. And I'm going to go in here, grab them over. I'm going to go into overrides, And I only want Firefox because you don't want to sit here and watch 100 things go. And what else did I want to bring over? I want to bring over this .github file. Now, as I said before, the dot files are invisible. .github folder is where you have your workflows in, your GitHub Actions and those YAML recipes. So I can go in and I can say, I can look at here and we've got, just show it, it's not previewing. I've got these and I can just bring this over and we will then edit it. And, oh, I'm in the wrong folder. Hold on. Boop. There we go. And I've got that there. So I'm going to make this commit so that we've got that in GitHub. And here it is, adding AutoMonkey. Now, that's not actually everything I want. It's a few things that are off. And this was why I wanted to do this talk, because I found quite a few things that just weren't working, and I wanted to show what I was doing that I found worked. So I'm going to pull this folder up in VS Code and throw that over to the screen, and there it is. So there's a few things that I have in here. One of the things that it has is a recipe list. So this is all the recipes that you actually wanted to run. So by default, it has all of these things. We didn't bring across all of these overrides. We just brought across the Firefox one. So I want to get rid of everything else. And what you call it with is the name of the file. That wasn't exactly what I wanted. That's better. And I want to get rid of that comma at the end because if it's the last item in the JSON list, it does not have a comma. I'm going to save that. I'm going to go to our repo list, and we've got all of these repos, and I don't want them all. I just want the basic AutoPkg recipes repo and the virus total analyzer repo. And later, I'm going to want my repo. So github.com/nope, Anklewicz-recipes.git. Did I spell my own name right? And I did. Nice. When you have a name that long, it is something to be proud of when you can spell it right. So I'm going to upload that as well. And we're going to go and say changing to only support Firefox for the moment. Boop, boop. And if I refresh this, we're going to see our current change. Next. I was saying that there are a few problems with the workflows. So I'm just going to replace them with a different version that I've got. And we're going to go through it, and I'm going to talk about a few things that I changed. And we're going to leave this up on that GitHub so that anyone can use it if they please. And let's go into the right folder that we want it into. There it is. And the replace dialog box, is on the wrong screen. So I'm going to apply to all and say replace. So let's look at this. And that is readable to me, but I don't know if it's readable to anyone else. So I'm going to, yeah, it works. Hooray. And I don't need Copilot. And what we've got is, once again, we've got a name. And this is AutoPkg run. It's running on a cron, so every weekday at noon GMT, it's going to run. It can also be manually triggered. And if you notice, there's some inputs there. And we're asking for the recipe. So if you want, you can specify a specific recipe to run rather than going through the whole list that you've got. And it's not required. Required is set to false, so that if nothing is in there, it will just run everything in the list. The jobs, it's running on macOS latest. The timeout is 20 minutes. I believe it was longer in the original, and I changed it to that. The monkey version, it was an older version. I updated this. It's still a bit older version. I didn't want to update it before I did a demo, so I'm sticking with the older one. I'm also not trying it on version 7 because that's not released, and that would be very, very stupid. It would not be fine. AutoPkg version I need to specify. I need to specify the Python version. And then what are we actually going to do? What are the steps? So in this case, once again, as we showed you in the earlier example, I am checking out the repo. I believe I changed the version number that it was running because it was giving me warnings that it was being deprecated. So I updated it to version 4. I'm going to pass it that secret token I did. And so this is how you call those secrets. $, curly brace, secrets, dot, whatever the name of the secret is. And then, of course, close the curly braces. I nearly didn't say that, but that is an important thing to do. We are going to install Monkey. And once again, go away. We are using those environment variables to get that package. We're going to install we're going to install AutoPkg using the same processor, but this time we're telling it to download AutoPkg. We're going to configure AutoPkg because this is a fresh computer, and every time it's going to be a fresh computer. So you need to set up and tell it what to do. And we want to tell it where the override directory is. So it's in the root of our GitHub directory, and it is in the AutoPkg source folder and the override folder. And you can see it right here. We are also going to say fail without trust, and we're going to say yes, because we want to be able to trust that recipe when when things change. We want to get a notification. We want to make sure we do that. Where is our Monkey repo? There, root of the folder. What is the GitHub token? There it is. And then we got a few other little things. It's just like, who's doing this? Runner is. What's their email? runner@githubactions.local. Then we need to configure the repo. So remember, we have that repo list, and it's going to iterate through this list text file of all these repos, and it's going to add it. So you can see here, for repo in that folder, do AutoPkg repo add, and then the repo name. And then done. So it's just a single shell script that gets that going and gets that done. And by single shell script, I mean just a single line of shell code. Run make catalogs is going to run make catalogs just to make sure everything's nice and kosher there. It's going to set up Python. It's going to install it. It's going to do Python cache. I actually don't know what that does, so if anyone does, feel free to raise your hand, and I will throw you a... Oh. Greg, you had a... No. Oh. I was calling him out. My bad. Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's get that to you.
It caches the Python dependencies.
Thank you. That was wonderful. I'll keep it. Okay, no. I'm going to leave it there, and one of you can throw it to the next person, because I may be sick, so I don't want it to touch it too much. Also, please help yourself to some candy. We're going to run pip install and install the requirements. I found it didn't work without PyYAML, so I added that to it. I told it to, it's then running AutoPkg. And it's not actually just running AutoPkg natively, it's running a Python script, which is that AutoPkg tool.py file that I mentioned before. I am terrible with Python, so I'm not going to explain that script, but I'm going to show it to you. And this is it. It has functionality for Slack webhook. I am not passing any webhook at this moment, so it's not going to do anything. But you can have it go to your Slack, which I do in production. It then goes and it runs all the recipes, it does all the magic, and stuff works in theory. And did I close that file? Oh, it just went into the same window for some odd reason. Okay. More setting up Python. Oh, no, we already did that. Pip install, running AutoPkg. It's passing the recipe input that I had given it as an option. So if that has something, it will run that specific one. We're going to pass it the Slack webhook. So if you are going to put it through Slack, you would need to create a webhook and get that going. And once again, we've got the read-write token. And then the monkey website, which we're not passing anything through, so it's just, I think, going to example.com. And that works because ours is not a publicly accessible because it's on an S3 bucket. Then we need to configure our AWS credentials like I showed you in the example one earlier, where we're setting our secret key and our access key and our secret key and the region, and I'm not using the variable here, but I should be. And then we actually run the AWS command to push client resources to there. So if you have any custom client resources, it'll go up there. It is pushing the packages up to GitHub, and it's gathering the logs and uploading them so you can see them at a later date. So that is what the AutoPkg YAML file does. And then we've also got the auto merge file, because when it downloads something, what it does is it creates a new branch in GitHub. So that branch is going to be titled AutoPkg hyphen whatever the name of the package is. Later, we're going to see the auto promote one. But anytime there's a push to those, this is going to run, where it is going to spin up an Ubuntu machine. We are turning this off for a demo, but don't do that in production. This is write protection so that I can't just write to main. I have to write to main and then get my colleague to go in and approve it. So it needs to turn that off to be able to do that. And that's what this is doing, but it's commented out. It's going to get the branch name, it's going to merge it, then it's going to delete the branch, and then it's going to turn back on the branch protection. So we've got this all up and running. I am going to send that up to GitHub, and we're going to say updated workflow files push. And then let's run one. How about we go and put Firefox in here? So we've looked at here the code. I'm going to refresh so that we can see that the changes updated workflow files is there. And then we can go to actions. And we've got these actions. They show up there because the YAML file is there. So I can say AutoPkg run. I can run that workflow. And remember, we set up that optional recipes to run field. And I could put firefox.monkey here, or I can just hit run workflow, and it's going to do everything in that list. Now, eventually, GitHub will refresh, and it'll show that runner. I am never patient enough to do that, so Command R is your friend, and there it is, AutoPkg run. I can go in and see what it's doing, and I have to actually click on it. So it sets up the job, and that's all the background stuff that is going. That personal access token was wrong. And it errored out. So this is what happens when you overwrite your file 5 minutes before your presentation. You have to go and create a new personal access token and set up that secret. And since that's happening, I am going to delete this one and do it on my screen so you all don't see that. Oh, and I have to authenticate. Yay, GitHub. Because it's a test one, I don't have my passcode. Oh, what's it called? Oh, I don't need to worry about that, I don't believe. Sorry about that, I apologize. It, life. Yeah. Let's expire this, not in 30 days, and generate the token. And there it is for me, and I can go back to GitHub, go to settings, or go back to my repo, go to settings, and I can go and delete or edit that secret keys under actions, and I'm narrating it because you can't see what I'm doing. Edit button, paste it in, update secret. There we go. Let's let you see my screen. And that has been updated now. So we're going to try that again. And to do that, I have to go back to the code. No, I need to go back to actions. I need to go to AutoPkg run workflow. You see why the first run I did of it was 5 hours? Finicky little things sometimes. Okay, so this time it actually checked out the repo because it has the right token now. So it set up the job because all GitHub Actions will start with that, where it creates the machine, it's creating a Mac, it's running 14.7.6, apparently according to GitHub, that is the latest. I won't tell them if you don't. It is setting up the other things, more things. Sorry? August 4th. Oh, okay. They're updating on August 4th. Thank you. And candy. So we checked out the repo. It copied those files over into that area, installed Monkey. That took 13 seconds. This is usually the longest step, and I sit here going, why aren't you going faster? Because I can't wait 13 seconds, apparently. It installed AutoPkg, configured AutoPkg. Remember, we ran all of those user default commands. It configured the repos. Remember, it was doing that for loop to put all of those in. So it started with com.github.autopkg.recipes, then it added mine, and then it added the virus total analyzer there. Ran make catalogs, Python stuff, just skipping over that. AutoPkg tools ran, did all that fun stuff, noticing that my Slack notifications webhook is missing because I didn't set one up. Configured AWS, and it did not like that. And I have a feeling I know why, because I did something stupid. Oh, no? Is that in my spam folder? No. So I did this before, where I accidentally uploaded my credentials to GitHub, and Amazon immediately said, hey, these credentials aren't any good. And just before we started, I accidentally uploaded the credentials to the S3 bucket, and there wasn't an email, so I'm a bit surprised by that. The next one passed. Oh, hey. Oh, because the client resource file is not there. That would be why. Yeah. So because of that, the X is here. It's going to say it didn't work. And we can just ignore that because it did actually work. And if I go in here, we've got the AutoPkg run that broke or allegedly broke because it couldn't do the client resources. It created a branch, and we can go into the pull request and go to closed. And suddenly we now have this pull request for Firefox. And it closed it and automatically went with here and ran that auto merge. And we can see here the branch was created, it was merged, it deleted the old branch, and now we only have one branch, and we go into packages info, and we've now got Firefox in here. Huzzah. But we don't have the packages folder because I'm not telling it to keep the packages folder. So where is that? Well, it's in my S3 bucket. And so I've got my Firefox image here, but I don't have any of my packages info files. So that's going to be a problem because I host all of those in my S3 bucket. So how am I going to do that? And I'm going to do that by going back to my notes. Nope, that's not it. There it is. And we're going to go in, and I've got in my demo files. Do you remember that Monkey Catalogs S3 sync that I showed you as an example in the slideshow? Well, I've got that here. So let's actually do that. And let's look at it in here. And as before, it's doing on a push to main in the packages info folder. It is going, oh, and I should have done something else, but that's okay. It's not going to give me a problem. And it's doing all those fun things that we went through each individual step earlier. What I should have done is I should have pulled those changes. And there we go. And now I can push this new change of adding that Monkey Catalogs. And I'm going to spell it properly. S3 sync, push it to main, push it to origin, and ta-da. Does anyone watch Bob's Burgers? Because there was an episode where Jimmy Jr. was doing a magic show, and he was really into it more for dancing, and so his comment was, to dance. And so between my wife and I, anytime I want to say ta-da, I want to say I actually say to dance. And every time I've said ta-da this session, I've just been stopping myself from saying to dance. So I'm going to stop stopping myself, and we're going to just to dance from now on. Okay, so that YAML file has been pushed, and if we go to GitHub, which I should have just stayed in Safari, and high heart rate notification. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to refresh, and we've got that in here. And what I'm going to do is I need to push something to the packages info folder to cause it to actually sync to S3. So to do that, I am going to go into monkey admin. I'm going to refresh. And suddenly now I've also got Firefox. So I'm going to go and change something. So I don't like it being called web browsers because I am weird, and I'm just going to call it web browsers. And that's good. And then I also want to actually put it into our managed installs. There we go. And I can save that. GitHub is going to notice those changes on my computer, and I'm going to say putting Firefox in the manifest and changing category. Now, you will have to do that the first time because it's not going to be in there automatically. But the next time Firefox runs, it will just automatically be there already because that's how Monkey works. So I've pushed that to the repo. I'm going to go over to Safari, and I'm going to go into Actions, and we're going to see that it's already doing it. So it set up the job. It checked out the repo. It's installed Monkey. And it likes to auto-scroll for you when it goes through this. And it's usually great, not when you're doing a demo. It's running make catalogs after it installed Monkey. It's configuring S3, and it is then pushing it to S3. And if I go here, refresh, nope, I'm in the wrong place. If I go back to the main folder and go to packages info, I now have that package info file in there. I've got my package info file, I've got my manifest file, I've got my catalogs. In theory, I could have my icons there, I could have my client resources in there, but this is enough to actually get a Monkey server working. We're not going to do that. This is not going to any clients anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But let's add something new. Now, the next question is, did I remember to uninstall AutoPkg yesterday? And if I just type AutoPkg, is it just version? Yeah, there's no dashes. It's already installed. So I'm not going to install it for you, but we don't really need that. So what I'm going to do, because we're on my local computer now, we've been setting up that repo list before, but I'm just going to do it here because I need that to create the overrides. So I'm going to say AutoPkg repo add, and I'm just going to copy and paste rather than, where's my cursor? Oh, here it is. Okay. I'm just getting the URL. Boop. And there we go. And gonna go and do the regular one. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an override. I'm going to do it for 2 apps so that we can see 3 apps running at the same time. It'll do Firefox, it'll do SF Icons, which is an app I made. It's open source in GitHub if you care. And then Renew, which is from Second Sun Consulting to annoy your users to reboot their computer. AutoPkg make override sficons.monkey AutoPkg make override renew.monkey. Oh, typo. Okay, so created those and saved it in here. So I am just going to open that folder and to dance. And I'm going to put this into our overrides folder. And you can just drag it right into VS Code. So I'm going to get rid of that subfolder. I don't know why, but in my testing, it has not worked when there was a subfolder. It was working in production, but I was also going to an existing monkey repo. So for the sake of this demo, I'm going to do that. I'm also going to change something in here, and I'm going to add a la Trevor to the end there. And thank you, Trevor, for making renew. And if you're in the Toronto area, in September, Trevor's going to be coming to our meetup and talking about that and a few other projects he's involved with. I'm going to change this catalog to development. And I'm going to change the developer to Adam, the cool dude, Anklewicz. And apparently I overwrote my name. There we go. I'm going to put, no, I'm not going to push these there. I am going to add these to our recipe list. And I just do that, got to add a comma, put in the quotes, and I'm just going to grab the file name, renew.monkey.recipe, and that's why you copy and paste instead of typing, and sficons.monkey.recipe. And now I can go back to GitHub and go and say, new overrides, commit, push, and we're going to go here, and let's make sure that those are there. So under AutoPkg source, we've got our overrides, and they're there. So now I can run our AutoPkg run again. How are we for time? Oh, we're good. Run workflow. And it's going to error out once again, but it will be successful because we don't have that file there. Could have corrected that by deleting that line, but we live on the edge. It's more fun that way. So, set up the job, checked out the repo. It's installing Monkey. It will install AutoPkg and configure AutoPkg and configure the repos and run make catalogs. Then it will do all the Python fun stuff and then run AutoPkg. And that's the big thing and everyone's favorite. And then after that, it's going to send everything to GitHub. No, to S3. Yeah, it hasn't run. I want to show you when it's actually running AutoPkg. One of the cool things about it is it runs concurrently. So it runs multiple things at once, which is really handy. And watch Scott's for even more fun stuff about how that does it. Or how his will do it. All right, so we've got it handled Firefox, it ran Firefox. While it was doing that, it ran renew. And somewhere here is probably going to be sficons. Error in the plist, mismatch tag in sficons. Oh well, I did something wrong here. Can anyone see what it is? Yeah. Yeah. What the? I think I took out a line of code too many when I added the cool dude. So I'm just, yeah, I took out display name. There we go. The cool dude. Save. We're going to push that. Typo. Oh, yeah, there's changes. Shouldn't have done that first. Yeah, I'm going to fetch. Pull. Push. and I want Safari. So yeah, this one actually didn't work. So we're going to run that again. And while that runs again, it actually did renew, but we're going to run it anyway. And while that runs, any questions up to this point? Okay, well, I guess we're just going to stare and watch at it in silence. And I'm just going to stand here like this. All right. I don't remember what he actually did, but it was probably this, because that's what it should be. Want to throw that over there?
My question is it easy to implement this on your own GitHub enterprise server that you're hosting locally? I know you probably have to have your own runners, right, still, or you tie back out. And also, is it easy to use other S3 compliant?
I can answer that one. I can't answer the first one because I've never tried that, and I don't have one yet to play with. But as for whether it works for S3 compliant, totally. I wasn't running this, but I have used Wasabi. When I was in a school, we needed predictable costs, and it was $10 a month, American, I think. Yeah, it would totally work fine in there. It would just have to pass the information, the appropriate information. So this failed, and I'm assuming it's just the client resources. There we go. So pull requests I'm going to go and look at, and we've got our closed one. And now it did SF icons. It earlier did renew. And if I go to GitHub desktop, I'm going to fetch this time, pull, and go over to monkey admin, refresh. Let's go over here, and we've got these items here. Now, once again, nothing. Oh no, we would have had a change to. We would have had a change to the packages info folder, and so did push the new plist files, but it's not in the manifest because I didn't tell it to be in the manifest yet. So I can go back to Bob, and I'm going to make these ones optionals because, you know, why not? Renew, SF icons, add, and I'm actually going to add that new catalog of development. Save. And GitHub, that's what I want to do. Adding new items to manifests. And now we have AutoPkg running in GitHub, creating your monkey files, pushing them to S3, and that's that. But we also want to run AutoPromote because I like it. I don't want to have to manually promote everything every single time. So once again, I have downloaded all the files ahead of time because I didn't know how the internet would be here. And I've got Gusto's AutoPromote. And I'm going to put that into my base folder for GitHub. Actually, I already created it, but it's just an empty folder. So let's go in there. Grab these 3 files. We are also going to bring that YAML file over, and we're gonna go through it, and I'm gonna show you what it's doing. So if people haven't used AutoPromote before, it is a Python script that goes through your catalog and it auto-promotes stuff. It is running based on your parameters that you're setting through this JSON file. So we're saying go from development to testing with 2 days in between. We're saying go from testing to production with 2 days in between. And we're saying go from production to, oh, no, never mind. We're not going anywhere else. Production's perfect. We also can, before we do that, we can also specify what channel it's running in our AutoPkg override. And we can say if something we want to go very slow, we can say go into channel slow. And we've set it up with the default of taking 2.5 times as long, so 5 days. Or we can say go really fast because we don't care that much, and it will do it once a day. You can deny specific things not to do it. You can allow specific things explicitly if you choose. You set up where the monkey repo is, so we're saying it is our GitHub workspace. So I had to change that, obviously, from our EC2 that was running it. The force install date, ooh, that was quite a crack. And then we can tell where to go to send notifications and where to send the results. And let's upload that to, oh, and let's actually, before we do that, let's look at the workflow so you can see how that is running. And basically what it's doing is it's creating a runner to call that script. So it's checking out the repo once again. It is installing Monkey. It's running make catalogs. It's installing Python. It is running it, just Python, and then you pass the path. Pass the secret token for Slack. It's running make catalogs once again, and it is creating the branch and committing the changes. So let's upload that and let's run it. And we upload that in this app and adding auto promote. So if we go back to Safari, we can go to Actions, and now suddenly there's our magic fourth action. And we're going to run it. And we're going to refresh because it takes too long. And we got there really fast that nothing's showing up. So it sets up your job, checks out the repo, installs Monkey, which again takes like 13, 15 seconds, a forever time when you're standing in front of a crowd. It runs make catalogs. It sets up Python and installs all the Python dependencies. Oh, setup Python's taking even longer than installing Monkey. There we go. Oh, no, that's still not done. There it is, 20 seconds. Installs the dependencies, runs auto promote, 0 seconds. That was fast. Ran make catalog and created the branch and commits. So let's go and actually see the commit that it made. We can go to pull requests. Actually, it didn't show up in here during my demo either, and I don't know why. So my test demo, because this is my demo. Oh, it's running now, and it's running the S3 push. So we can go see that S3 push. And while it's doing that, because it's made the changes already in GitHub, I can go to GitHub Desktop, and I can fetch once again, pull origin. And if I go into Monkey, let's go over, or Monkey admin, you can see right now it's just showing testing for all of these except for SF icons. But if I refresh, it's also in development because the auto promote worked. And this time it's just backfilling. But in the future, in 2 days in theory, it will run and promote it to either testing or production depending on what its current state is. And that is auto promote. And then the final thing to do is to go into GitHub, go to my personal access token, delete that, go to here, and we're going to kill this. Where's the delete? Oh, there it is. I need to be into the buckets. But Sabrina is not here. I'm glad a few people laughed at that one. Oh, I've got to empty the bucket first. And now we can go and exit this, and I can delete this bucket by confirming that. And to dance. So, one other thing I wanted to do is to go and upload to this GitHub repo, not in the GitHub folder, but in the root folder. Let's go to Finder and hide other things. Boop, boop. We're going to go here, and we're going to take our, oh, it's on my screen. All my tests I was doing, it was this that screen was the primary. So that's throwing me for a loop there. Let's throw the Keynote file up there. Let's also throw up that setup file. And I will do the things we're doing .zsh in a few moments once I clear out some variables from it. Nope, that's not the right app. I'm going to push this to there. Keynote and setup file. And so now you've got access to that. The website is github.com/Anklewicz/ what do we call it? And I closed it. Why did I close it? Home. And we're going to call this, I think, PSU it's going to be. Yeah, there it is. AutoPkg PSU 2025. So that's there. If anyone's in the room channel, feel free to throw that URL in there for everyone else, someone who's willing to type. And we've got 10 minutes, well, 9 minutes for questions. Okay, I didn't give out. Oh, Greg, can we get the...
So I still run AutoPkg the very OG, old-fashioned way. I have a Mac Mini sitting in a data center somewhere. I actually don't know where it is. I haven't been in the office in years. That I SSH into. You know, it has a cron job or a launch D job that runs once a day that does that sort of thing. Moving to something like this looks like, frankly, a lot of work. And I'm wondering, you know, where the I guess I want to get a feel for what the size of your environment is to figure out, was it worth it? Because if my environment is a lot smaller than yours, maybe I can still justify not doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just trying to figure out where the work versus the benefit, where that trade-off hits.
So I'm going to start off with the work to set it up was the big thing. And the biggest part of it was understanding it. And then we just did it in about an hour. Mostly, there were a few caveats, as I pointed out. And I would suggest doing those things. If I was still in a school, I spent a lot of my career in education, I would have a building I'm in. I would have a server room, and I would probably have an old Mac Mini that I could just grab, and for free I would have an AutoPkg machine. And that's what I was doing there. So I probably wouldn't do this. But we don't, at Thumbtack we have an office in SF, but we don't have a server room there. We don't have any on-prem servers. Everything we're doing is running in the cloud. So setting up something as straightforward as how you've got it going is even more difficult for us than doing this. As for the size, we've got 1,000 Macs. We have a, is Monkey on this machine? Like I can probably show, oh no, it wouldn't be called Monkey, it would be called Managed Software Center. And like, we've got a bit, but it's not huge. It's not a huge list. Oh, and apparently I need to update 1Password. But yeah, it's not a huge list of apps. And we keep on adding more and more and more. But for us, it's like if your Monkey repo is similar to this, size-wise, and you're happy in a closet somewhere that you don't even know where it is, then I think that's a great solution. It's really how our network is set up and how distributed we are. Because yeah, we have an SF office, but our employees are in 3 countries. I have been to our office twice. I have been to our old office that we used to have in Toronto, which is just a WeWork space, like 3 times, but now that's closed. I've never been to our Manila office, but I want to go there sometime. But yeah, it's because of our us being so cloud focused and us like, how many states do we have employees in? Do you know? Yeah, like almost all of them, Rebecca said. So yeah, we're very, very distributed, where I imagine you're all in California and all in the same city, or at least the vast majority.
Well, actually, we do have a facility in Vancouver, and we do have remote employees now since the pandemic, but we do have some server infrastructure. We do have a data
Yeah.
center. We do have that. So that's yeah. So it sounds to me like right now with what we have, it's probably not worth
No, I don't
the
think
work
so.
and effort to
Yeah.
move
Like
to.
my old school, the person who replaced me there, he's still running AutoPkg on the same Mac Mini that I was running it on. And I've shown him this, and he thought, cool. And that was the end of it. So yeah. Any other questions? We still got 4 minutes.
Watch your laptops, people.
So, I guess the one problem I had in my previous org was that we had like 2 different campuses and then people that were at home. So do you think this would be worth pursuing in a situation where you would want servers closer to specific environments, but you would still initiate all of this from like GitHub and just have it sync all 3 at the same time?
I didn't quite hear all of that question. I'm sorry. Could you repeat?
Like, basically would this help if you wanted to have multiple monkey servers that were closer to, you know, this specific group, like this campus or this
Yeah.
region? Or would you still prefer to just have everything in one server?
So when I was in education, we had 2 campuses at the beginning of when I worked there, and they were called Roy and Moss. Some of you might get that reference. But we would work on one, and then we would sync between the other one, and that would just go over the internet to the other campus, and that worked great for us. Eventually, we did throw it into Wasabi, and the reason we did that was because it was pre-pandemic. I think it was because people were taking their laptops home, things weren't updating, and we wanted to make sure they had access to the Monkey repo outside of that. And so that's why we put it into an S3 bucket, or an S3-like bucket. And that worked really well for us. So that's why when I came to Thumbtack, we investigated what the right patch management solution was. Rebecca and I agreed on Monkey, which I was very happy that that won, because I had been using it for, I don't know, like Lion. And so when we did that, I had already had experience with it in S3. We had an AWS account. We were underspending our budget goal for AWS, so we had room. It wasn't costing us anything in the end. So for us, that made a lot of sense. If you have to spin it up and pay for it, that's going to be something different, and then S3 might not be the best bet for you. That's why at the school I liked Wasabi, because it was a flat rate, and we knew exactly what it was always going to cost us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. And you got 2 more minutes? Well, I want to thank you all so much, and I apologize for my gravelly voice and everything. Everyone who asked a question, please come up and grab candy, and also everyone who didn't, please come up and grab candy. I do not want to take this all back home, and it is all delicious, even if it might be a bit melty and or crumbly, but they are all great snacks in my mind. Hopefully you think of that as well. So thank you so much.